On our level, it's very, very hard to judge who has the power to perceive or to TERMA means to extricate or reveal TERMA teachings. It's very, very hard. So what happens is that there's a tradition in Tibet of TERMA teachings where highly evolved masters have very powerful clairvoyance. And you say, but that's not just in Tibet. There are other countries, except Nostradamus, who can see way into the future, it's said, right? So in Tibet, they have that kind of power that they can see way into the future. Highly evolved means the power of clairvoyance. And so what happens is that they know that when they arrive at this time, they arrive at this time, they arrive at this time, they're going to come to this juncture where they need this help, that this spiritual discipline, this spiritual practice, this particular meditation will help to counter these kind of forces at this time. So what they do is, if they rely on human people, it will be very unsure because the human line can die, or they don't pass it correctly, they don't do it well, or they lose it, so that the teachings can be lost. So what they do is that these masters hide these teachings in the 5 elements. It can be hidden in the air, in certain people's minds. Some can be hidden in certain reincarnated minds. Means certain Rinpoches are reincarnated, so if they reach their 8th incarnation, it will manifest. It will open up. Some is hidden in the rocks, some in the stones, some in the mountains, some with certain deities, some with nagas. It's hidden all over the place at a certain time to be revealed. And it's like a parent. It's like a parent. I mean, I saw on the Oprah show where there was this mother who was dying of cancer, and her daughter was like really small. And she made hundreds of videotapes. And it became very big in the United States because she made hundreds of videotapes to raise her daughter since she wasn't going to be around. So it was very touching, and through the whole thing, everybody in the audience, Oprah, me, everybody was crying because this mother loved her daughter so much, and she wanted to be there for her, but she couldn't be. She knows she's going to die because her cancer was terminal. So she prepared her videotapes from the daughter at this age, her birthday, the messages, when she reached maturity, when she became a teenager. She talked about her first boyfriend, and it was very beautiful. And she talked about, school, and she talked about problems she come up with, about accepting yourself. And then she talked about your first date, and she talked about her getting married, and then she talked about her kids and how to raise them. And she gave all these advices of what a mother would have given her daughter if the mother had lived to see the daughter's maturity. And it was hundreds of videotapes. And some of the videotapes, the mother was just crying and crying and crying. And some of the mother was laughing and laughing and laughing. And through this videotape, you saw the love that this mother, the compassion, the love, the care she had for the daughter. And the daughter grew up totally normal, totally fabulous, because why? Her mother was with her all the time. So they played some of these videotapes with Oprah, and it was so touching because even her first date. So when this girl was experiencing her first date, her father actually got out that videotape and played it. He said, look, this is your mother's advice for your first date. This is what your mother went through when she went on her first date. And so she was talking, boys are like that, and they're like this, you're dressed like this, just be yourself, don't worry. And it was so beautiful. So this girl was getting this advice from her mother from beyond the grave in the form of videotape. And when she was graduating in high school, the mother had a beautiful message about her graduation, and how she should feel, and how proud she should feel, and all that stuff, and how she wishes she was there to hug her and give her a kiss. It was just so incredible. Just incredible. And so the mother prepared every stage of her daughter's life with hundreds of videotapes, recorded, because she couldn't be there for her daughter. And her daughter totally grew up totally normal, better than most of us, because she just felt her mother's love and care. And they were playing this on Oprah. Everybody in the audience was like, so this mother spent the rest of her days, she had like 1 or 2 years to live, right? Taping and preparing herself for her daughter. Because she says, if I had lived, I would have been there for her. If I lived, I would have been there to raise her. If I lived, I would have made sure that everything would have been fine for her. But I can't, so I can't just be depressed and be sad and not do anything. I'm going to do something. So that was her idea, to do something for her daughter. And I was like, wow, in the face of death, she can do that. Incredible. It was just incredible. So my point is what? Is that if a normal, ordinary mother can prepare all these incredible teachings for her daughter about life, to prepare the daughter, Why can't High Lamas prepare teachings for the future? Definitely High Lamas can prepare. Now, the question here is that it's not on videotape. It is not so simple as your first date or your first prom, or it's not as simple as that. It's more about spiritual attainments where we need to make sure it's correct because we're going to commit. So what happens? There were great lamas in the past who can do that, who can plant termas, but within the Gelugpa school of Buddhism, it is very stringent. And I'll tell you why. Because there were a group of people who abuse that system. We use the TERMA system. TERMA, actually it's pronounced TERMA. TER means to reveal, to show. We use the TERMA system to trick people, to preach false things, and to actually use false teachings and to get help, money, assistance, respect. It was abused. So by the time Lama Tsongkhapa came, he said no. He says the previous TERMA teachings that existed, blah blah blah, is fine. Because some of the teachings that he extracted were TERMA teachings. Why? Because Lama Tsongkhapa, what he did was incredible. Is that he received teachings in the three existing lineages and combined it together. But how he did that was this: if it was philosophical or debate or textual, he would actually go back to the source. Where it came from, trace the source, and then say, okay, that's fine. If the source died at some point, even if the text was fabulous, you would use it. Because it doesn't trace back to Lord Buddha or one of his great sons, such as Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, or Ashwagosha. It doesn't go back to him. So when it doesn't go back to him, you say no. Even if the text was wonderful. Why? The text might be wonderful, but the lineage is broken. So there's no blessings. So that's one. Second, on the tantric text or the meditational text, Lama Tsongkhapa himself would take the texts. So he would have like 3 or 4 traditions of Hirupa texts. And I'm telling you, the Hirupa texts are like that. They're huge. And he would actually go into meditation on them. He would go on a retreat on them. And when he would do everything that was required in meditation and retreat. And when he did everything that was required, when he received signs and indications as it said in the text, he would say, this text is superior. It's very good. For TERMA teachings, within our Gelugpa school of Buddhism, it's not acceptable. If someone comes out and says this in the monastery, it will not be acceptable. And that's I just have to tell you the bare facts. Why? Because some people in the monastery, while I was there, and I'm going to tell you about this, I'm not going to give any names because I don't want to be penalized. For example, there are 3 types of Hirupa teachings among the many that Lama Tsongkhapa proliferated. Lama Tsongkhapa's personal Hirupa practice was according to the Luipa tradition. Then there was a Luipa tradition, there was the Dribupa tradition, the 5-deity Dribupa tradition, there was the Napopa tradition, the 62 deities. And so Lama Tsongkhapa's personal was Luipa 62 deity practice. So Luipa is according to the Mahasiddha Luipa, Luipa. So he had the Luipa 62 deity Hirupa. He also practiced the Hirupa Dribupa, Drilpupa, which is the Mahasiddha Dribupa tradition, 5 deities. And then the last one that he practiced was Decho Napopa, Nakpopa. So the Hirupa Napopa was again 62 deities. These were the 3 traditions. Out of these 3 Hirupa traditions that was extracted from India and from the different lineages, the one that he received the most signs, most dreams, most auspicious, and most attainments and most results was the 62 deity Hirupa. So because of this practice, today in His Holiness the Dalai Lama's monastery, Namgyal Monastery, in Gudur Tantric College, in Gume Tantric College, in Gamin Shartse Monastery, these 4, they practice the 62 deity of Luipa. So the other 2 are given, like from Saranji, I received most of these. But the one that we're encouraged to practice is the 62 deity Luipa. Why? Because from Lama Tsongkhapa's examination, The lineage was unbroken. Completely unbroken. So from this Lama to this Lama to this Lama to this Lama to this Lama, it was completely checked and unbroken. There was no breakage of lineage at all. So it was alive, it was active. For blessings, no problem. Number 2, the way it was set out, as compared to the other 2, will be more appropriate for today's people. Today's attachment, today's materialism, today's difficulties, it will be more appropriate. So you're saying, but all 3 are Hiruka. It's the same deity, but it's a method of meditation which was more appropriate. Like today, the way we wash clothes and the way we wash clothes 100 years ago will be different. Much more different. Today we have fabric softeners and all that stuff, and to kill germs, and we have bleach to make clothes whiter and color. Very different. But the clothes is exactly the same. So the way Lama Tsongkhapa did that was, he personally himself examined the practice, he checked the lineage, he checked it page by page, he went into meditation, and he checked his results. When he got his results, then he taught. And again, which Hiruka is the best is not which Hiruka is the best. Hiruka is the same, but which method will be more appropriate. In the future, it is definitely possible that Hiruka's practice will transform and change according to the people. But that will require a Lama that will prove his practice by study, by knowledge, and by practice. So, in the Gelugpa tradition, in Ganden, I could be wrong, but I've never heard of something based on TERMA teachings. Why? Because the TERMAs, or the TERMA Terduns, the ones who Terdun is the ones that discover the TERMAs. Terdun is referring to a person, a noun. Cannot be verified. Cannot be verified. And so, while I was in a monastery, there was a particular monk there who told people he saw Tara. He was telling everybody he saw Tara. He made a big throne for himself. He would sit down there and Tara would come to him. And he would tell everybody he saw Tara. And then he said that Tara was connected to him from his previous lives. And he would compose books. He would compose books that were spoken to him by Tara. So he came to my house once and he offered me a book. He was very respectful, came in with a contact stuff, offered me a book to read at it. And I asked Hensuruchi about it. Hensuruchi says, well, it looks pretty good. It's not bad. But he says it can't be used because his source is Tara. And I said, why is that? He says it's because we can't verify if he saw Tara or not. And the way Hensuruchi said it was very beautiful. It wasn't to put the monk down. It wasn't to put the monk down. Because the monk could have been very attained. He could have been. But you see, that's not going to hold water. Why? Because we already have many great existing texts that we don't need a further text to elucidate what we already have in the monastery to study to understand. So you already have a great curriculum. You don't need to add another one just because he said that Tara said so. So that was kind of like a TERMA in Ganden, and that was why I was there a few years back before I came to Malaysia. So my point to you is, within our school of Buddhism, TERMAs are not accepted. Why? What is accepted is something that the great Sanghas and the great masters and scholars debate. And they debate until the point where there's no doubt. And when the Sangha and the masters and the great abbots all debate together and they come across it to be sound and clear, it is accepted. So within the Gelugpa school of Buddhism, it must be debatable, it must be accountable, must have a lineage, and it must be proven, not by one or two, but the whole Sangha. Even the Dalai Lama says, hey, I don't have the power to change anything. If I want to change anything along with the monk vows or anything like that, I'll have to have all the sanghas get together and talk about it, discuss and debate, and then come out with a conclusion. So by the power of the sangha, things can be changed. Otherwise, one person cannot, no matter how incredibly advanced they are. So my point to all of you is this, is that Shugun Trungpa, now listen very carefully. We look at all his other works. We look at all his other practices. We look at how many people he's benefited. We see the text that he's written. We see the lives that he has touched. And we see his movement growing and benefiting many. On that basis, we can say his TERMA must be all right. For example, Songramji himself. There were certain texts that were missing. And they had certain chants and melodies that were lost. So what Songramji did is incredible, is that he actually perpetuated his deity, his yidam, He went to sleep. But when he woke up, he wrote the sounds because in his sleep, he would hear, in his dream state, he would hear the Dakini singing and telling him how to do. So when he rewrote it and he sang to the older monks, they were shocked. This is what they heard before in Tibet. But no one could write it down. Some monks heard this part, they heard this part, but they couldn't remember it. We didn't recounted it from a dream. Another time I was in Borobudur with His Eminence Kanchen teaching. And I was walking around with him, and there were hundreds of them. You know, all his disciples, and all the Italians, the Germans, and all these Europeans there. And then there was and we were walking around Borobudur. And one of Rinpoche's previous lives is an architect at Borobudur. That's in his lineage. So what he was telling me is we were walking to Borobudur early in the morning making the offerings. He slipped. He says, "Oh, I composed this new text." Rinpoche told me himself. He said, "Oh, I composed this new text." I said, "Oh, really? What is it?" Blah 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 blah. And I said, "Oh, where'd you get the source of it?" I wasn't questioning. I was just like very fascinated. And he said, "Oh, I heard the Dakini singing to me from within the mandala, which is the Borobudur mandala." He says, I heard these ladies singing to me, and I recorded it in my mind. I made it record it down. And then he went, "Oh," he said, and he caught himself. I said, "Tell me more." I said, "No, nothing. That's what he told me. So I know even today, Gelugpa lamas or lamas all have terma revelations. They all have things locked away here and there where they can tap into because they have these supernatural powers. I mean, that's the fact. But within the Gelugpas, you don't believe it. Why? A, you have very valid texts already. You have very valid texts that you can study, that you don't need a new one. You don't need Tsem to have a vision that you can teach you a new Gelugpa sub. You don't need it. Look, if I was to come out with a new Gelugpa sub, I bet you most of my students say, "Okay, let's do it." But we don't need that. We don't need that because it's already proven what we have is good enough. That's one. Second is, within the Gelugpa tradition, if we need to do that, we need to actually have the approval of the Sangha. Within the monastery, where they debate it out, they talk about, they check it to make sure. Why? When the great scholars and the masters examine all directions, it's all right, because they all have their attainments, they all have their learning, they all are experts in their field. It's like when a professor of physics comes out with a new thesis, and the other professors debate it out. It's like when a doctor comes out with a new formula, the other doctors debate it out to make sure from all angles that it is free of fault. Right or not? In the normal world. It's the same thing with the texts. The third thing is, termas is not specific of a lineage. A certain lineage accepts it more than other lineages. So if you say that only one lineage can have that and the other lineage cannot, then you're limiting the power of the lamas. How come a lama of one lineage doesn't have this kind of power and the other one does? That's impossible. It's impossible. It's illogical. That would mean that the different attainments from different lineages would be different. So that means a Gelugpa Buddha would be different than a Nyingma Buddha. That would be impossible, right? We're going to need different tankas for everybody. That's not logical. So another thing is, how do we verify people like you and me cannot? There's no way we can. We need the power of the Sangha, the masters. So, for people like you and me, I would not recommend a TERMA practice. I wouldn't go for it. That's it. I mean, that's what I said earlier. It's going to sound a little controversial. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. But from somebody like Shogyen Trungpa, where he's proven the benefit, when he wants to reveal that to his students, I'm sure it has benefit. You understand? So if you want a straightforward answer, I can't give you a straightforward answer. I have to give you this way. But within my school of Buddhism, no. It would not be accepted. It could be wrong. I mean, there could be real termas that's not accepted. It will be a loss, but then, that's part of the game, isn't it? You understand that?
Which is it, like what you say, the Sangha have to confirm it. I remember in the...
Not just normal Sangha. I'm talking about the masters like Ganen Chiruji, the Lord of the East, Lord of the West, and the advocates of the three monasteries. All these great masters. I'm not talking about not just normal Sangha. You and me, we will get robes, we approve, okay. And then with this robe, we'll go back to our fun. I don't think so, brother.
Yeah.
I can imagine all of us, we wear robes, but it's not we approve. Let's go. And, Jenny had a vision, and, Tara was speaking to her, right. Tara didn't speak to you. But you're gonna have to convince us. Just kidding, go ahead.
Yeah, it's about 11 head Avalokiteshvara
11 head Avalokiteshvara.
in the Guru tree.
Actually, that one you call it Avalokita.
Avalokita.
Just for short and sweet. 11 face Avalokita.
11
Same thing.
Avalokita. I read from certain texts. I heard that there's a nun who perceived this practice
The
from
Bhikshuni.
a bhikshuni,
Yes.
perceived it from a dream, and the whole sangha of the Gurukha school had to debate and check it all out for pertaining to the Gurukha.
Finish in the lineages. Yeah. So, what are you trying to say? I'm right.
Is it after or before or after Lama Tsongkhapa's time?
It have to be after because there's no Gelugpa monks before Lama Tsongkhapa. They only came after Lama Tsongkhapa. Lama Tsongkhapa founded the Gelugpa school after. So the text could have been existent and floating around, and when Lama Tsongkhapa came afterwards, they found the text. Why? Because the text could have been written 300-400 years before Lama Tsongkhapa, and then after Lama Tsongkhapa comes during his time, they don't do it, but it could be 400-500 years after Lama Tsongkhapa, they find the text again, and they can debate about it. Why? There are many great masters after Lama Tsongkhapa, equal to Lama Tsongkhapa. Equal. There are many. Do you understand? So as long as they approve it, the Sangha approves it, it's okay. So within our school of Buddhism, one person doesn't have that authority. But sometimes you have extremely eminent lamas who are proven themselves beyond a shadow of a doubt. When they tell you something, you say, okay. Example, the Dalai Lama's personal root guru. And these are two men that the Dalai Lama himself prostrates to. The Dalai Lama prostrates to a Buddha and these two men, not to you and me. My meaning is for the Dalai Lama to prostrate to them. It's incredible. Why? When someone of very high attainments prostrates to someone of lower attainments, it's a demerit for that person. It's very, very powerful demerit. That's why people of higher attainments, people of vows, or people of tantric practice or realize, we put them on thrones, we put them higher, we don't sit on the same level. Why? When we sit on the same level or we show arrogance or we show this kind of I'm same as you, it actually is an obstacle to our attainments. Okay? So what happens, that's the reason why we put them on a higher place, we put silks, we put robes, we put beautiful decorations, we put them higher. Why? To celebrate the attainments. Why? To make an affinity to gain those attainments. His Holiness Dalai Lama is a very highly attained being. For him to prostrate to anyone is not simple. You don't just say, oh, I'm a great master, you prostrate to me, I'm your teacher. No. Why? It's highly attained. For a highly attained being to prostrate to you, it will be a very big demerit for you. It will take away a lot of your merit. So that's why when a highly realized being comes, or an attained being comes, or a monk, or someone that holds vows, or practices tantra, that, like a masi or whatever, we stand up, we show respect, we prostrate, or we make beautiful thrones, we make beautiful places, we take care of the house. Why? It's to facilitate them to gain their attainments, facilitate us to gain their attainments. Okay, that's one. Number two, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has 10 shops. 10 shop means debate assistants. And some of them can even go and receive teachings from distant lineages, distant teachers. He can have 8 or 9 or 10 shops. 10 shop. Tsenshad. They're assistants. They're not the Dalai Lama's guru. So for example, let's say that I'm a High Lama. You can't expect me to run around to that, run here, run there, and go to all kinds of places to find teachings that are near extinct. So let's say she's my 10th shop, you're my 10th shop, you're my 10th, you 4. So she will go to that place, make offerings to that Lama, receive the teachings, come back and offer it back to me. So for her to offer back to me, I wouldn't consider her my guru or my assistant to find that lineage. Why? The Buddhist teachings must come from a live person. That's called a lineage. So Shirley would go and get the teachings from, let's say that she lives, 5,000 miles away. So you go there, you receive the teachings, and then you come and you give it to me. So you would offer to me. So how would you give me the teachings? You wouldn't sit on the throne and say, okay, you're on your guru now. You would say, I offer this to you. Why would you offer it to me? So that I can pass it on to people. So that's a shop. So with the Dalai Lama's tutors, there's only 2. There are some people and some lamas saying, oh, this was Dalai Lama's guru, that was Dalai Lama. Just because, there are teachers out there who gave 1 or 2 teachings or 1 or 2 obscure lineages or lineages that were lost to the Dalai Lama, and they can be considered the teachers. But in Tibetan society, there's only 2 tutors. That title is given to only 2 people. The tutor is called Yongzin. Y-O-N-G, D-Z-I-N Yongzin. Only two. And that comes the senior Yongzin, or the senior tutor, Y-O-N-G-D-Z-I-N. The senior Yongzin comes from the great, renowned Drepung Blossoming Monastery. That is His Holiness Captain Rinpoche, who was a master of Sutra and Tantra, who was a previous Gandhi throne holder, and his previous lives also emanated as Taoist tutors. And he is considered a living emanation of Yamaka. No one in our system will say he's not a living emanation of Yamaka. Renowned. I have met him myself. The second tutor, the junior tutor, comes from the great monastery of Ganden Shanse. That's my monastery. And this great master is considered an emanation of Yoruba. Some consider Vajrayana, but you have to understand Vajrayana Yoruba is considered as one. He's an emanation of Yoruba, and his lineage stems back to Shakyamuni Buddha. He was the chariot driver of Buddha Shakyamuni himself. So his incarnations has been coming for 2,500 years. He's like some kind of spiritual vampire that just keeps coming and coming. These great masters, His Holiness Rinpoche, is a direct emanation of Yoruba. These two masters are the Dalai Lama's gurus. There's no doubt. You know the book I have upstairs? It's got the painting of Dalai Lama in Tibet, the big thick book. You go to my room, on the shelf, the big thick book with Dalai Lama, the old-fashioned one, and on top has a two-tutor painting. Bring that here. And okay, that's one. Now, these two tutors have many teachers and geshes, but they have their root Lama. Their root Lama that they both prostrate to is Pabon Rinpoche. His Holiness Pabon Rinpoche is the root Lama of the two tutors. That means every single teaching, every single lineage and tantric transmission and oral transmission of the two tutors came from His Holiness Pabon Rinpoche. Can you imagine how renowned he is? And this Pabon Rinpoche has produced two students. Both became the guru of the Dalai Lama. And hello. And look at the Dalai Lama, look what he does today. Look how much work he does. Look how he benefits people. I mean, the Dalai Lama said he had a dream and Tara came to me and told me this, do this, I'll do it. You know why I'll do it? I can't prove it. But look at everything else the Dalai Lama does. See this, even in old paintings in Tibet, this is the Dalai Lama, this is Captain Rinpoche, that's His Holiness Rinpoche. That's it. No one else. You don't see any other painting, anybody else that's his guru. Nobody else. So these two renowned teachers, Rinpoche and Rinpoche, that's Yamataka and Yoga, that's Avalokiteshvara. I mean, look, very line. I was trying to stick myself somewhere that it didn't fit to move over. Okay, now, their teacher that they prostrated to was Pabon Rinpoche. Pabon Rinpoche, when he gave teachings, thousands of people showed up in Tibet, thousands. They will walk for 1 month from distant parts of Tibet to come to his teachings. And Pabon Rinpoche was considered fully realized or became one with Buddha. When he gave initiations and teachings, during initiations, there's a part where he actually asked the wisdom beings to come and dissolve into you, plant the seeds of life in your mind. People will actually shape. This was told to me by one of my teachers in America. He's in his 80s now. He told me that these are people who were there, when he gave initiations, people would shape. And Geshe is one of these scholars who's no nonsense, don't talk about dreams, he doesn't want to do divinations, he doesn't want to talk about anything mystical, it's just direct study and scholasticism. He doesn't want to talk about magic. So once in a while he slips, and he tells you that. And he says that people in the audience actually saw Pabon Rinpoche's third eye. So people in the audience thought, oh my God, why does he have to be honest? And people actually see people shaking in the audience. I mean, these are monks. They weren't epileptic, by the way. Yeah, they weren't. They weren't epileptic, like, having an epileptic fit. Everybody in the audience can be epileptic. Maybe just missed a nod, like, oh no, I'm giving my pills. Quick, now, quick. So this is now like, they're okay. Not everybody was epileptic. So what's my point is, on top of that, Pabon Rinpoche is renowned for being the guru of all gurus in Tibet, the guru of all Gelugpa Lamas. The scholars, the masters, the abbats, the teachers, the mighty tutors of Bandit, Sarah, Draco, all attended his teachings. And the two inferior tutors all attended his teachings. Now, it was he who, in front of many people, would go to certain pilgrimage sites in Lhasa touch statues. Many people witness that are alive today. The statues of greed or sweat or charm. Many people, especially Hirupa or Vajrayana statues. And it was he who, untraditional of Gelupas, because Gelupas are like, prove it. But with Pabongka, nobody said prove it, they said yes, sir. So what happens is, with him, he had a vision of Vajrayana. And Vajrayana told him that it would be very beneficial to promote the Vajrayana teachings. You say, that's obvious, she's going to promote her own teachings. Come on, she doesn't have an ego. So it couldn't be an ego trip that she's promoting her own teachings, can it be? And some more, there's other Buddhas who say, slap her and say, hey, Miss Ego, move over. Why don't you promote yourself? Why don't you promote me? Not possible. Vajrayana doesn't have an ego, and then there are more Buddhas who would stop her if she was an ego trip. So it couldn't be right. Vajrayana actually appeared to Prabhupada herself and said that my teachings, these particular set of practices, will be very, very beneficial to many people in the future, especially during the Kali Yuga or the degenerate times where attachments and materialism is very strong. And I give you the blessings, I authorize you, that anybody who receives teachings from you, Pabong Kalam, and 4 generations down, have my promise, you will achieve Kacho Heaven in 7 lifetimes. Because in Tantra, when you receive highest yoga Tantra, Hirupa Yamataka, if you hold your vows, you have Buddha devotion, you do your practice, you do your succession, and you do your talk, within 14 lifetimes, you will attain Buddha. It is promised. It is promised. It doesn't have to be in this planet, it can be somewhere else. So it was missing now on Mars getting enlightened. We can't go there for pilgrimage, sorry. And so it's promised. But within the Vajrayana Tantra, it's also the same thing 14 lifetimes, but it was promised to Pabongka Rinpoche 7. So that means Pabongka 1, his disciple 2, his disciple 3, his disciple 4. So any of these 4 after that, it's back to 14 again. So Pabongka gave it to Trijana Rinpoche. Trijana Rinpoche gave it, but Pabongka gave it to thousands of people. And Pabongka gave it to Trijana Rinpoche. Trijana Rinpoche gave it to thousands of people. And then Trijana Rinpoche gave it to Son Rinpoche, who gave it to thousands of people. I received it to Son Rinpoche. So I'm the 4th. Am I popularizing myself? No. I have many people out there who support. I'm not the only one. But in Malaysia, I'm the only one, sorry. So I'm within the 4. So let's say that I give the initiation to Jenny, and in the future she gives the initiation. Sorry, it's back to 14. But with me, it's still 7. So you're going to get 50% discount. I didn't realize that, but when I received the Sonarchi, later, years, 20 years later, I read it, I'm like, oh my God. So wow, that's why I hold these teachings particularly very special. And I train up my students and I name the center after Kichar or Vajrayana Center. That's why I give people Vajrayana statues, or some people threw a bitch fit in the beginning. I won't throw any names. That's why I give everybody Vajrayana. I promote it, I name our center after her. Why? I follow Pabongka's lineage. Why is that? 7 is better than 14. There's many reasons I do that. And I look at 2 clouds. And I say, oh my God, imagine them doing, more complicated deities with a lot of entourage and a lot of meditations and very big silence. Forget it. They already threw BFs about Rinpoche doing mitzvah. See, forget Vajrayana, it's like 40 pages. So why? I look at the whole group, I look at the people, I look at the place, and I look at her power, and I look at what she represents. It matches everything perfectly. So I try to get my people towards that. Why? I have other practices. She's not my main practice. She's not my main, She's one of the things that I have to do to give to people. Because if I don't do it myself, I can't give it to anybody. It's like exercise. If you don't exercise, you're finished. So you gotta do your mental exercise every day. She's not my main practice, but it's beneficial for everybody. Why do I keep her statue? It'll be beneficial for everybody. Why do I say I want a chapel? It'll be beneficial. So what I try to lead our people to is her practice. That's what I try to lead our people to. Everything goes to that. So why? Why is Yamataka beneficial? He is very beneficial. I love Yamataka. I think he's great. Anything on fire with an animal's head, give it to me. I love it. I love pagan things. Hirupa, I love him too. He's great. So what's my point? My point is, Pabongka had this vision, and then he told people, I had this vision. And Vajrayana said that to me. Everybody said, yes, sir. Everybody said, hey, we're going to check it out, Pabongka. Why? Everybody became a student. And a lot of people by listening to his teachings and practicing what he said, became very attained. Very, very attained. All Gelugpa lineages today, all high Gelugpa lamas, all Gelugpa teachers in the world send their teachings back to Paul. Even the practices that we do today, like Yamataka, Vajramini, all that is written by Paul himself. Oh yes, that's right. The Dalai Lama's personal lineage goes back to Paul directly. So if you criticize Prabhupada, you criticize Trijang. If you criticize Prabhupada, you criticize Trijang. You criticize the Dalai Lama. Then is Dalai Lama the only elite student of Trijang? No. 99% of the Geshis out there in this world, and the Lamas out there in the world, direct and indirect, are students of Trijang. That's right. Big and small. Lama Sopa is a student of Lama Yeshe. Lama Yeshe is a direct student of Trijang. Direct. You read his books. You check out his lineage, you tell him what he says. That's right. All direct. Lama Yeshe's main guru is Trijang and Sorenchi. And in fact, Sorenchi was invited to America the first time by Lama Yeshe and sponsored by him. That's right. My teachers, Geshe Turi Gelsen, are students of Sorenchi and Trijang. My root guru, Geshe Kensho Losang Tachirimchi of New Jersey, he's passed away from Ceremony, he's a root disciple of Pabongpa himself and Trijang. All my other teachers are all disciples of Trijang, Sorenchi, all stems back. So when anybody criticizes Pabongpa, they criticize the Dalai Lama. If they criticize Trijang, they criticize the Dalai Lama. Why? How can you criticize, how can you love the son and hate the father? You cannot. So people don't realize that. People today look at it and say, oh, which is clear, who's your guru, who's not, who's good, who's not good. No, I love Dalai Lama, but I don't like this guru, I don't like that guru, this one's clean, this is not good. Oh, your guru is that, so you must be bad. That's very bad. That's very, very bad. Why? How can you criticize the lineage laws? And when you do your sadhana, example, when you do your Yamataka sadhana or your Vajrayogini sadhana, in the Yamataka, Vajrayogini sadhana, Yoga sadhana, you have to mention Trijang Prabhupada's name every single day. Why? There's a solicitation of the lineage groups. You have to recite every day. And they're in that every day. And they don't put their title, Pabongpa or Trijang, they put their monk's name. Pabongpa Rinpoche's name is Dechinipo. You'll see about Vajrayogini sadhana, Hiruka sadhana, Dechinipo, Hiruka also. And after that is Losang Yeshe. Losang Yeshe is Trijang. For myself, after that, Losang Tsunju, that's Ketches Sorenchi. You have to remember their names. So people out there saying, oh, if you're associated with this Lama, you're doing this practice and it's not good. Wrong. Wrong. Definitely wrong. Definitely wrong. Definitely. And these days, there's a lot of politics out there. There's a lot of politics. If you're associated with this Lama, you're doing a bad practice. If you're associated with this Lama, you're doing a bad practice. How can you say things like that? How can you? How can you say that? Then that means that what Pabongpa Rinpoche and Trijang Rinpoche taught was, part of it was very good, and the other part was bad. So how can one part be good, the other part be bad? Either they're Buddha or three-quarter Buddha. So if you're going to criticize what Trijang Rinpoche taught, what Pabongpa Rinpoche taught, as a basis that this was good, this not good, it's the same thing for Dalai Lama. So that means Dalai Lama's lineages are pure. Because you receive it from Trijang Rinpoche. Impossible. You cannot. If you go into debate with them, you'll lose. That's why I respect all. Some people say, oh, look at this Lama. This Lama has this guru is associated with that, that's bad. He's got that Lama is associated with it, it's good. So this Lama, he's iffy because he's associated with that Lama. Like, what? How can you say that? How can you dissect what's good and bad in the Lama? How can you make up that kind of rumor? How can you be an ordinary person judge a Rinpoche? The whole Sangha and the whole High Lamas has picked him and then thrown him and say he's a Rinpoche. Then you lay people, you don't know anything, you criticize him. How can you do that? When you criticize the Lama, you also criticize the people that have thrown him. Why? You're saying indirectly they're mistaken. Very simple. Indirectly, you're saying they're mistaken. The abbots and High Lamas have thrown them. Impossible. So like that, today there's a lot of politics because why? Sorry to say, there's a lot of center student stealing crap going on. I want my center to grow. I want my center to look good. I want sponsorship. I want help. So what? They can't say that directly, so they put down the different laws. How do they put them down? Oh, your lineage is not pure. Oh, their practice is not pure. They're not practicing pure things. So everybody's like, ooh, let's go to the pure center. Oh, TC. And then what I want to say is all the purity and pure centers today stem from the same lamas. It all goes back to Saranji, Trijanji, and Pavaranji. Hello? So in Pavaranji and Trijanji, what? There's a part that's not pure. They teach impure teachings. There's a part that's pure. So when you meditate on the pure one, you become Buddha. When you see pure one, you become a devil. Hello? It's improbable. Either they're Buddha or not. How can Pavaranji turn around and teach something wrong and make a mistake, and then in the other meditation you think that he's a fully enlightened Buddha with no mistake? Cannot be. I mean, you think about that. So people want to criticize a lama for who he worships and who his lama is to judge him. Very wrong. Very wrong. And today there's a lot of that going around on the forums, everywhere I read. Everywhere they criticize. They validate the person teaching to see who their lama is. Yeah, see, I'll show you some things I was shocked. They validate that lama to see who their lama is. So if you're, let's say Mrs. Mao's lama is Lama X is controversial, so Mrs. Mao is bad. Huh? But then why don't you check the Lama X's lama, who that lama was? So Lama X is bad, then his Lama Y must have been bad too. So how come Lama Y is good in this circle and is bad in that circle? The Lama Y taught A, B, C is good, D, E, F is bad. Are the lamas good or bad? Once you criticize Srijanji, Saranji, and Pavaranji's lineage, you're criticizing Dalai. Criticizing Dalai Lama. Then everything's finished. So that means the Dalai Lama has polluted teachings and unpolluted teachings. That doesn't make sense to me. That's why Lama bashing, I'm totally against. There are lamas I particularly don't like and I won't go near, but I don't comment or say anything because I'm sorry and I'm not being humble. I don't have the clairvoyance to see who they are. So I keep quiet. Why do I keep quiet politically? No, everybody knows me, I don't keep quiet. But when I don't know something, I keep quiet. Lama bashing is very serious. Very, very serious. So people judge a certain teacher today by who their lama is. So what do you want? For example, if I have a teacher and then you don't like my teacher, I'm supposed to give up allegiance to my teacher just to make you happy? No, I'll do it. So if I give up my allegiance to this teacher and I stick to this teacher that you like, all my attainments are gone. Why are my attainments gone? Because I lost faith in one of my teachers. Very simple. Very bad. I don't like politics. And I don't like this kind of, covering your evil deeds with so-called pure and impure lineage and pure and impure practices. I don't like that at all. And there's a lot of lay people out there who don't study, who have not committed their time, that have not committed their energy. They just became Buddhists. They're walking down the street and, I took refuge, I'm Buddhist. They start getting on forums, they criticize. They go out to centers, they criticize. Very bad. And some people are rich. Some people have big names. Some people are well-known people. And they use that to criticize other lamas people. Actually, they're just normal people. Just because you have money doesn't mean you have the authority to judge another teacher. Just because you have money. Just because you're well-known and rich doesn't mean you have the authority to criticize another teacher. And just because you're rich and well-known and you're under a high lama doesn't mean you don't collect negative karma when you criticize another lama. So you can be rich and famous and well-known, and you can have a famous lama that you have taken refuge in, that's your guru, you promote your guru, fabulous. But you should promote your guru at the expense of another guru. And if you may be rich and famous and fabulous, and you have a rich and famous and fabulous guru and he's pure, right? That doesn't mean if you criticize another guru, you don't collect negative karma. Show us where and who by authority, what authority that lama is bad, then you can start criticizing. Even if you got a letter that says that lama's faith is bad and you criticize, you still collect negative karma. Because isn't that contradictory to Buddhist practice? Very simple. So when you criticize that lama, you criticize all the people that enthroned him or authorized him. And you also criticize his students by saying they're stupid, they can't see through. Very damaging. So is everybody stupid? You're the only smart one because you're rich and you have money? I don't think so. So that means the lama's stupid. The people who put him on the throne are stupid. And his students are extra stupid. And he's just milking and fleecing them. Oh boy, I wish it was that easy. I'd be rich. You guys are very difficult to fleece. Especially him. Very difficult to fleece and milk. I milk and milk and milk. I just get a few drops. Very difficult. Why? Because you're not a student. So if anybody criticizes the Lama, they criticize the students, and they criticize their lineage, and the people that authorize them. You think about it. And these are the people that are like, in cyberspace hiding out there and pretending they know everything, but if you meet them, they're like trembling. That's right. So what am I telling you? Logic to think. Good. Anybody want to say anything? Say no. It's like that. Very simple. I don't care who you are. If you spend 30 years in the Dharma, then you come and talk to them. So therefore, when His Holiness Kyabje Palomka Rinpoche told everybody that, very humbly, that I had a vision of, Vajrayani, blah, 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 and that she promised that anybody afterwards for 4 generations would be able to ascend to Kachara Paradise within 7 lifetimes. Half. Nobody said no. Because everything else he did was perfect. And he produced all these great masters and great teachers who were highly attained. So what's my point? You have within the Gelugpa lineage certain lamas that really just totally transcend the, let me check out the teachings are valid kind of system. And one of them was his own Palomka. And if you ask me why, well, he had total proof, thousands of students, elite masters, a lineage holder, the writer of sadhanas. I mean, all of our sadhanas are written by him. So you're not going to question if he adds one more little thing to it. By the way, if you practice my Vajrayani, you're going to get to heaven in 7 lifetimes instead of 14. No one's going to say no. Did you see Trianaji saying to his guru, I don't think so, prove it, Palomka. No, it's like, it's too much. So what we were asking earlier was, within the Gelugpa lineage, TERMAs are not very much like, but there are exceptions. I'm sure Vajrayani will appear to high masters in the future again and again and again to reinvent herself, reteach. I'm sure that's going to happen in the future. Why? Because what benefits people will change with time.